So CRISPR is a technique that decreases the cost of the research and the time for research. So basically, CRISPR is run by when the bacteria or the bacteria attack to a cell in the.
Now we'll move on to recombinant DNA, which is this other way of genetic engineering. Recombinant DNA technology is joining together of DNA molecules from two different species that are inserted into a host organism to produce new genetic combination that are valuable to both medical, agriculture, and industrial. First of all, scientists will find a DNA which is plasmid that they desire to put, and they remove the bacterium, and the tDNA is cut by a restriction enzyme. And the foreign DNA is cut by the same enzyme. As if the foreign DNA is inserted into tDNA of the plasma, which we can see in the third step as recombinant T plasma. The orange part is the foreign DNA being inserted. And as the plasma is inserted into a bacterium, the bacterium is used to insert the tDNA carrying the foreign genes into the chromosome of a plant cell, which we can see in the fifth step, the photo, and inside there's the DNA strand. And the insert DNA, tDNA, carrying the foreign genes is shown at the top left, at the top right, the orange part. And as the foreign gene is being sent to the chromosome, the plant cell are grown in culture. There's a seed, and then when it's growing, the plant itself from the growing process is being cell cloned, and all of the cell is carrying foreign genes and may express it as a new trait.
So these are some examples where genetic engineering has been used. First of all, BT corn. BT corn is a genetically modified organism that has been bioengineered to resist a pest that can cause significant damage to crops. Many nations plant this type of corn, and it is in use in a variety of industries. This corn takes advantage of a toxin produced by the Bacillus thuringiensis bacterium. The toxin, known as Bt, ruptures the intestines of the corn borer and related organisms when it is ingested. The pests typically die within 2 or 3 days of ingesting the toxin.
Golden rice. Golden rice is a form of rice which biosynthesis of beta-carotene, a form of vitamin A, and scientists created this golden rice is to solve the problem of vitamin A deficiency, and mainly associated in Africa, which eating golden rice which is being genetically engineered to have a many vitamin A inside will help of the deficiency to provide more nutrients to African people, and it produces a combine of yes. So the bitcoin gives the golden rice its golden or the coloring. Once the consumer is golden rice, and bitcoin either accumulates in fatty tissue is transformed into vitamin A. And now we'll move on to the myth of GMO. Since it's a very controversial topic, people also, since GMO is new, even though it's not that new, people seeing it as a new technology, and the society have a lot of questions to GMO, and also from the controversial process, a lot of myths is developed of GMO, such as GMO It is GMO that makes super insects and super weeds, and GMO cause health-related issues toward humans, including cancer, and GMO seed cannot be replanted. First of all, we'll let Haiwan to introduce and debunk the first myth.
Okay. It is GMOs that make super insects and super weeds. So, what will happen is that some GMOs, such as BT corns that we just looked at, are genetically modified to have toxin that will kill the pests and weeds within the organisms themselves. And some of the pests or weeds will be slightly more resistant against the toxin. And when those pests and weeds eat the GMOs, those that are more resistant will eventually survive. And those that survive will reproduce together to produce an offspring with stronger resistance, which they call super weeds and super insects. Now, the reason why the myth is wrong is because this does not happen in the case of GMOs. It also sometimes happens with moths, or in Darwin's finch, which is a famous theory. And so it is a natural process, and any changes in the environment would cause the organisms within the environment to evolve into a new species with a new trait. And therefore, it is not only GMOs that create super insects and weeds. And now, Linda will explain the second myth.
So, many people believe that GM food would have disease or side effect related, such as cancer, nutritional content, allergic response toxicity, organ damage, and genes transferred. However, that's what people believe and people's stereotype of GMOs. In fact, GMO foods, they're being most thoroughly tested for all food. And organization have designed specific system that's set up to test rigorous evaluation of GM organism and GM foods. It takes about more than 7 years for one GM seed to be published and be used and manufactured. Therefore, it's secured, and the whole process of system will test allergy and genes transferred and other related issues. Also, many scientists have do many research on GMO and non-GMO food and the cause of it, the impact of it to human health, which there's no report or experiment shown till now that eating GMO food have direct connections with getting cancer or other health-related issue. Therefore, as a conclusion, cancer is a scary, complex disease which have many causes. However, there's no proof that GMO food is one of it. Through further genetic modification, GMO food not only like what people said will cause cancer, but it can be changing for nutrients. It can help people to prevent getting cancer or other disease. Okay, now we'll move on to the third myth.
So the third myth is about GMO seeds cannot be replanted. Lots of people think that it cannot be replanted is because it already been to genetic engineering, and they think they need to be re-genetic engineering in order to be replanted as a seed. But this idea is not true, because most of the farmers will buy the seeds each year, even it was GMO or not, even it was normal seeds. It is because that replanted seeds can lead to inconsistent and diminished harvest. And buying new seeds each year is a way to guarantee the consistencies of the habits. So for this one, the conclusion would be we cannot make a conclusion that GMO seeds cannot be replanted. We only know that there's a technology that GMO seeds can be replanted and the production won't be decreased and it will be stay the same. But the research has not yet been used in the world because they are worried about when they publish this technology, lots of farmers won't buy in any GMO seeds anymore. So there are two aspects of views of GMOs. One is positive and one is negative views. So for the positive aspect, GMO can increase efficiently on yield usage, and you can reduce the environmental impact it brought to the society by use of pesticides, and it provides nutrients. Also decrease the piece of food due to massive production.
As anything at both sides, the society also has a negative aspect to it. First of all, the process of GMO is cost a lot of money, include investigation and investment on the technology. Secondly, it might create unwanted new species that is unable to control, which it's not a good thing or a bad thing, but it's that something is unable to control. It's harder for people in the society to move on. As a gene transfer, it is a new technology which it might affect some of the organism and the ecosystem, which is the main reason why some ecologists is against GMOs. And that is all. Today we talk about the growth of plants and the use of fertilizer, GMOs, and we have talked about myth of GMO. I hope all of you guys enjoyed this podcast and learned from it. Thank you for watching.